Hey everybody, here we are. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. And had my vitamin C, vitamin D, and my, I guess you gotta have the vitamin D with some oil for your immune system. So I think I'm good to go. Had my tea this morning. My wife is from England, so I had my morning tea with all that stuff. And Christina, hey, you're awesome. So I hope this is helpful for you and everybody else that's going to hop on. It'll be good. I'm hoping. You guys got questions at the end of it? By all means, I'm here to answer your questions. But today, we're trying to limit the scope to, hey, Christina, limit the scope to hamstring, IT band, and your glute, your butt, your big house. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. And I hope everyone's doing well. Anyway, so I just want to make sure I'm hitting stuff. So we're going to start talking about the hammy, right? Your hamstring. I got into some stuff last month, and the self-treatment stuff just kind of I didn't do as much of that as I wanted to. So I'm going to do more of that. But like I said, we're going to talk about the hammy and your high hamstring, right? Where people talk about the high hamstring, and that's like right up just below your butt where your hamstring attaches. So we're going to get through that today too. So let's go ahead and start. And thank you everybody for hopping on, and anybody that's going to be hopping on later. So so we got to talk about what's behind there, right? So if you have hamstring tightness or or pain, really, what's there, right? So your hamstrings are there, obviously. You have arteries, you have veins, you have connective tissue, and you have nerves. I have never seen the artery or the vein back there be painful. Sometimes you have deep vein thrombosis, but that's normally in the lower, it's farther down the road. If you have a thrombosis in your, in your thigh, that's a pretty big problem. But most of the time, those things aren't painful, and the connective tissue isn't going to be painful unless you have a really bad, like a fibromyalgia or something, right? So those three generally we can just kind of, not toss out, but put on the back burner for now, right? Hey, Chris, what's up, man? And Nikki and Jim, thanks you guys for hopping on. I'm here to answer questions, so here we go. So muscles, hamstrings. So why hamstrings and nerves? We narrowed it down to hamstring and nerves so far. So you have your sciatic nerve that ends up causing things to be pretty tight often. And I can't say that enough. Particularly if we've had maybe some on and off, tightness in our hip or our back or our hamstring or IT band. Generally, that starts to kind of make me feel like, you got to look at the nervous system a little bit. Most people aren't looking at the nervous system as a local pain generator outside of being irritated by possibly the low back. It happens, but what we tend to miss is clinicians that the nervous system can be a pain generator all on its own, without the back being a part of it. So if you've been stretching your hamstrings forever, right, or on and off for quite some time, forever, like back in the Sandlot days. Good movie. And you still are tight, that's generally letting me think, I start going towards the nervous system and the sciatic nerve being a pain generator. So consider that, okay? Maybe you've been stretching out your hamstrings for a while and your hamstrings just aren't getting much looser. That tends to be a problem. Hey, morning Bunroth. Good to see you, man. Thanks for hopping on. Gosh, I hope I pronounced your name right. Let me know if I don't. But anyways, yeah. So in the nervous system and the hamstrings. If you stride out and you feel a little bit of soreness, or you're sitting around and you feel some soreness, your hamstring is a huge pain area. A lot of times, really down because of the sciatic nerve, and I can't stress that enough. Because there's not really much back there that would be a pain generator besides the hamstring and the sciatic nerve. Now, you know, when it's black and blue, yeah, you tore your hamstring, right? That ends up happening. And if you've had some on and off, kind of like maybe some a strain back there, kind of acute, but if it kind of just starts to kind of feel like it just slowly just kind of gets tighter and tighter and tighter, kind of wondering what happened, a lot of times that's a sciatic nerve, and most of the time it happens to do with sitting down. I hate to say it, but chairs are awful for our sciatic nerves, particularly if we want to run. So anyways, so sitting down in an office chair, right? Most of us, unless we're 6'6", our foot tries to find the ground, and our whole leg just kind of drops off the edge of the chair. And so that can end up maybe irritating the sciatic nerve over time. It has me. I did something really, really, I thought wasn't that big of a deal. I did my hamstring stretch after a run, right? Here I go. And you can see my foot. Maybe. There we go. Anyway, so I moved my foot and I did my hamstring stretch, but I felt it in the back of my knee and my calf. Now, bottom line, you're not supposed to do a hamstring stretch and feel it in your calf or the back of your knee. There's only tendons in the back of your knee. You won't feel, and there's your tibial nerve, and you're not supposed to feel it in your calf either. So I did that. I got pretty aggressive with my stretching after I got out of PT school, and sure enough, I felt some zinging and zapping down my legs for on and off for a couple years, only because I stretched out my hamstrings the way I thought I was supposed to, and this is out of PT school. So it ends up being an issue. So if you feel like your hamstrings are tight all the time, stop stretching your hamstrings, okay? With your knee straight. In fact, and I would suggest not stretching them at all for some time, just to let things quiet down. Now, like I said, you know, sometimes there are strains and it's pretty acute and it happens and it really hurts. And sometimes you get black and blue, torn hamstring. But if it tends to be this achiness thing that just never goes away and you stretch it out and never goes away, it's probably a sciatic nerve. And watch the way you sit down. So what I was trying to get to is that your knees should be higher than your hips, okay? And your foot should be actually on something, like maybe a small stool, so that your knee's higher than your hips, so you don't have the pressure on the back of your thigh on your hamstring. And maybe even more so, on top of that, maybe just let yourself kind of slump a little bit, get on your tailbone. Because the taller you are, like we think we're supposed to be, and you have maybe some sciatica issues that's mimicking a hamstring problem, the more tall you are, the more that irritates it. So if you end up being a little bit more on your tailbone, get your knee higher than your hips, chances are your hamstring won't be as easily irritable, and I would just say stop stretching your hamstrings for now. The only time I would ever stretch my hamstrings is if my knee, see if I can do this.
Your voice just went.
If my knee is bent, okay? So I would go forward on it, and then maybe just straighten my knee a little bit. You should feel it only here. You shouldn't feel anything at all in the back of your knee or your calf. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but most of the time, maybe when we're young, we're teenagers, stretching out your hamstrings, with your legs straight isn't that big of a deal. But when you get older, it's more of a big deal, particularly when we sit down, maybe either drive or do our job, or if we're laborers, sitting down on your hamstring, on your sciatic nerve just tends to make it get irritable. Anyway, let's see what else I was going to put down about that. Yeah, really, your sciatic nerve, it innervates your entire lower leg. So you could have some pain in the back of your knee, the pain on the outside of your knee, pain in your calf, pain at your heel, pain in your plantar fascia area, pain on the inside of your ankle, and it all be generated from a sciatic nerve that's not quite happy up the chain. It does happen that way. I saw a guy, just hit this home a little bit. I saw a guy of 2 years. He had plantar fasciitis, right at the heel. The diagnosis was plantar fasciitis. He saw everybody that you could. He saw his GP, he saw his family practitioner, he saw orthopedic specialist in the foot and ankle, he saw a podiatrist, and he saw a chiropractor, right? So obviously this guy's kind of gone through the ringer. 2 years, still having heel pain, really obviously bothered by it. And so what I did was I tested out the nervous system. And that's really what I did, was what your standard straight leg raise is. If you imagine me lying down on my back and he was lying down on his back, and all I did was raise his leg up. I kept his knee the same, I moved his hip, and he felt pain in his heel. So, and there's variations of that to try to tease out what part of the nervous system is irritable, but bottom line is, I just went up the chain, worked on his hip, worked a little bit on his back, and his heel pain went away. But it was mostly driven from the hip, from the sciatic nerve irritation. In 3 weeks he was done. He was back on the road and running and having a good time. But that's how much the sciatic nerve can be. I didn't touch his heel. I didn't touch his heel at all to treat this guy. So just so you know that, just kind of get a background in your mind for maybe how much the sciatic nerve could be irritating your symptoms if you've had them for a while and you've been treated in the past and there's been no real resolution to your symptom if you still had it for a while. Chances are there's something that hasn't been addressed really well, and often, maybe not every time, but often the sciatic nerve ends up being irritated. And it's showing up in areas where there's a lot of pressure or a lot of motion, where either the hip, the knee, the foot and ankle, or the heel, because there's tons of pressure there. Anyway, hope that helps about the hamstring. I'll show you guys the taping technique that I mentioned. Most of the time, if the hamstring is tight, and like I was saying, if it behaves the way we're talking about right now, stop stretching it. Sit down with your knee higher than your hips. Place something underneath your foot, not underneath your thigh, so that the front edge of a chair or anything you're sitting on isn't driving into the back of your thigh as your foot's dropping off the front edge of the chair, trying to find the ground. Just pressure anywhere ends up, over time, irritating this thing just a little bit. And it'll be a nuisance. And you'll always be wondering why. It'll always be tight. You'll always be stretching it, and it'll never go away. Anyway, let me just go ahead and say hey to some people here. Mike and Joe and Sheila, Veronica. Veronica, hey. Good to see you. Michael, Will, Val, Lisa, hey, I remember you. Hope you're doing well. And Stuart, cool. So that's kind of your Carolina, yay, good to see you. All these people, holy cow. Mohammed, hey man, thanks for watching, bro. Anyway, so Yeah, that's it. That's the hamstring issue. I hope that helps for the hamstring. Now it's gonna go forward to the IT band, right? So a couple things with the IT band area, right? So the outside of your thigh here, right? And a lot of times it ends up being an issue right at the outside of your knee, as your IT band's kind of snapping over it's where your femur kind of flares out, right? So as your femur flares out to create the groove for your kneecap to kind of slide and glide up and down in, there's this epicondyle thing. It's a flare of your femur bone on the outside of your knee. And so as you get tired through your run, this happened to me on my first marathon. I ran up to 20 miles about 3 or 4 times. I never did 26. Didn't have the time or something. I think I was a little scared. But anyway, so I did the marathon. And at the end of the marathon, I felt fine, but give it like maybe 20, 30 minutes, maybe half hour later, man, this area on the outside right there, gosh, that was god-awful pain. It was, what I realized later is that my hip abductors were getting really, really weak, tired. And so when your pelvis drops on one side, your IT band stretches. If your IT band stretches, there's one friction point right there on the outside of your knee, and it'll just kind of just flip over that thing a little bit too hard and too aggressive, particularly probably the last 3, 4, 5 miles, and end up giving you that pain. Yeah, awesome peeps, thank you. Yeah, Mohammed, Veronica, Lisa, Carolina, say hi, man. I'll wave at you. This is cool. Nice to see you. Anyway, let's see here. Yeah, so generally the IT band isn't really a tightness problem. It is so strong. I think it was said that 1,000 pounds or so can actually be held by that thing before it actually elongates or tears. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable structure. So it's generally not a tightness problem. And here we go with the sciatic nerve again. So your sciatic nerve goes down around, backside of your hamstrings. Your sciatic nerve also innervates the outside of your thigh, okay? And then below your knee, it innervates nearly everything. So that ends up being an issue for the sciatic nerve sometimes. But there's two, and I alluded to it when I talked about my first marathon, that when your pelvis, when you're running, right, and you're in like a single limb kind of support, right, the other side pelvis, because this leg is holding you up, if you can see me. There we go. So the other side, this side is holding you up. This side is obviously not holding you up. It's not on the ground. But as this side gets weaker, this pelvis drops. And when this side drops, this IT band has to be put on stretch, right? And so sometimes that's how you can get this burning towards the end of your run. On the outside, your hip on the outside here might be kind of weak, and it needs some resistance to fatigue, because it's not fatigue resistant. You need to get some strength in there. So that's the one thing with the IT band. The other thing is the sciatic nerve. Again, this is what a lot of people aren't looking at. And sometimes it's maybe not your IT band, but it's just to the outside and back of your IT band. It can be anywhere. It can be the back of your thigh. It can be just on the outside behind you, then also on the side here. And like I said, everything below your knee is innervated by your sciatic nerve, except maybe a couple things, but most of it's sciatic nerve. Ends up taking a good bit of the problem, ends up being an issue. So, yeah, so sometimes we stretch this thing, or we roll this thing out forever, right? We roll out our IT band and we still feel tight. We roll out our IT band and it still feels like it's tight. And you know, your IT band can, you know, maybe you can gain, like say you had a trauma, pretty bad trauma to the outside of your knee, right, or outside of your thigh. You know, sure enough, there's going to be bleeding, swelling, and some scarring, and so the IT band may not slide and glide really well, but you're not going to get it to elongate. You might get it to kind of move a little bit, and slide as it needs to, but stretch out is pretty difficult. That thing's pretty strong. So stretching and rolling that thing out forever, and it still feels tight. It goes back to the sciatic nerve. You got to start thinking now about your sleeping position. The sitting position, for one thing, you know, if your hammy feels tight all the time, the front edge of the chair drives into the back of your thigh, right on your sciatic nerve, and that irritates things. But sometimes you won't feel it in your hamstring. The hamstring won't be the issue. It'll be the outside of your thigh when you're sitting down. Maybe not maybe when you're sitting down, but when you get up from a sitting to a standing position, or when you're running, you start to feel it out here. And at the end of a run, or towards the end of the run, when you get tired, if you start to feel it more, well then, you know, it could be more of a strengthening issue, and we'll get into a couple strengthening exercises that we might be able to do towards the end of it, towards the end of this thing. Let's see what else. Yeah, so your pelvis, right? I mentioned how your pelvis drops, right? When you get tired, it's supposed to drop a little bit. But if you're looking at somebody, maybe they're on the treadmill and you're looking right behind them, you should maybe see, you know, a little bit of motion, right? Just a little bit, just noticeable, right? Close, and 10, feet maybe. You should be able to see maybe just a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't, but it'll happen a little bit. 5 to 10 supposed degrees is kind of what the average, the more on the average, right? So 5 to 10 degrees. So if you're about 50 yards behind, right, and you see this pelvis drop, that's an issue. That's when your hips are not strong like they need to. And, just simply in walking, when there's a ton of pelvic drop and you have pain on the outside of your hip, maybe into your knee as well, maybe some sciatica issues, that's when you need to turn on your glutes and you need to figure out how to make sure that happens. And yeah, that's we'll get into some strengthening exercises for that. Yeah. And let's see I'll just do the strengthening exercise. So I'm gonna move you with me here. How can we do this? I think best would be kind of right. I'm gonna move this thing right here. I love stairs. Stairs are good. Maybe we'll go down here to kind of look at it the best. Let's see. Nope. Probably here we go. Yeah. Anyway. So, there we go. My foot's on one of these stairs, if you guys can see it. Yeah. Okay. So, I'll do this side. So this hip is going to get a lot of work right now. My foot's on the first stair, and this part is going to get a ton of work. So what I do, when I step up, I make my other knee come really high, and the higher you make this other knee, the more the outside of your hip has to work, okay? So the more your outside of your hip has to work, the more this thing has to be fatigue resistant. And I'll hold it here for about 5 seconds, then go back down, barely touch, and then back up. So the idea is, there we go. Imagine me on a stair. My knee's going up. Makes this side have to work a lot harder, okay? And so if you're looking at me from the front, this knee's going up, the outside of this hip's working a crazy ton. And if you end up having a weight, maybe a 2, 3, or even a 5-pounder here, and you go out to the side, you can see the leverage of that thing, this muscle, trying to hold up something in your hand that's now farther away than even your knee is. It's way over there, so this muscle has to work even a ton harder. So 5-second holds, back down. Bring this knee up, makes this have to work harder, and then you get even more into it. 5-second hold, back down. Holy smokes. That's a really good strengthening exercise. And another one, where you can just be standing on a stair, or you can be standing flat on the ground. And all you're gonna be doing, you see, again, it's for this muscle right here. You might feel it go down into your lower leg, but all I'm doing, my knees are locked out, and I just hike up this hip. Hiking up this hip, bringing this hip closer to these ribs is gonna make this muscle here, just below on this side, have to work a ton harder. It's a good 5-second holds. Come back down, barely touch, and go back up. You'll feel the outside of your hip here and your legs start to burn up. Pretty good. Really good, actually. And then another one, the last one that I do. So you guys are seeing a view of my house here. I'll show you this way. So kind of getting a little bit of a defensive kind of a posture for like basketball. We call them defensive slides. Anyways, you would have a TheraBand or some kind of band around your knees right here or around your ankles, and you'd be staying straight up and tall and going back. And the idea when you do that is to make sure that when you go out, you're not doing this or like this. Straight up and down and going out. And you imagine bands around my knees or bands around my feet, pushing out against that thing every single stride will eventually strengthen up the outside of your hips and the back of your hips too for that one on the stair. But anyway, you need to be strong there, but more importantly, you need to have fatigue resistance in that area, because if you're going to be running, I mean, you're cycle after cycle, that leg is needing to keep you up. So anyways, let's see, did I cover that well? Let's see. Yeah, any questions about that stuff? Hey, Trudy, good to see you, man. Oh my gosh, Scott and Sonny and Jimmy, thanks for you guys' time. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and pop them on here. I'd be happy to ask you or instant message me or whatever. So that's the IT band, it's the hammy, and now your butt, your big house. So you can have just pain right up here on the outside, right here on the outside of your hip. You can also have it, right there in your bum. And I gotta tell you, most of the time, the piriformis, to some degree, across the board, for all the stuff that we're talking about, to some degree is always involved. I've never seen it. It's or I would say a fairly rare occurrence that the piriformis isn't a part of the issue when this whole area isn't feeling good, like from your hip or your back down to your thigh. Most of the time, your piriformis isn't that happy. It may not be the biggest problem, but it is a problem most of the time. So anyways, it can, if you treat pain on the outside of your hip and back here similarly to an IT band problem or pain point, then the behavior is the same. It's just a different area that's irritated. And the lateral hip could be from, obviously the weakness as well that we just went over. You can do those strengthening exercises, and that can help. Yeah, most of the time, I'll say it again for this one. Most of the time, if you have pain kind of right around here, right, just kind of behind your hip, but in your big house, your glutes, the piriformis is a huge problem most of the time, and so is the sciatic nerve, almost across the board, because there's nothing there but a big muscle and a big nerve the size of your thumb, which is your sciatic nerve. Two things, that's it. And most of the time, your glutes might feel tight, but I would venture to guess, and most of the time, that your sciatic nerve is involved and your piriformis is tight. So the piriformis stretch, and this is great for all the stuff that we just talked about. You can do it sitting, and sometimes this is enough. And don't get tall, don't do that. Let yourself kind of slump a little bit. Bring your opposite knee to your opposite shoulder. Feel a little bit of a stretch right around here, okay? Right around here. And another way to tell, and this might help, if you feel the outside of your hip, and you put your fingers right there, you just kind of follow it towards your tailbone, your sacrum, and if that's sore at all, chances are your piriformis is not just tight, but it's spasming. Sometimes a lacrosse ball on that will help, just kind of calm that sucker down. Let's see here. I'm sure I hit everything I want to talk about. Yep. Okay, so we talked about hamstring, we talked about IT band, we talked about your lateral hip and your big house, your lateral outside of your hip and your big house. If it's your lateral hip or your IT band, sometimes it can be a strengthening problem. Your glutes could possibly not be working very well, and they need to be more resistant to fatigue. And sometimes, often enough, the sciatic nerve is a part of it, not all the time, but very close to being all the time. Sciatic nerve's a component of all of the problem, all of these problems we just talked about, all these pain points. Sciatic nerve is often a part of the problem. So now, since right next to that is your low back, so we call it lumbo pelvic control, right? Your lumbar spine and your pelvis with your hips. The control there is really, really important to helping out how you feel about how your body feels. If you don't have the control, then it tends not to be a very good, tends not to be very helpful. You need to have for example, I'll use my elbow. You can see your elbow right there, right? You can see it flexed, you can see it extended, right? And you can see mid-range. And you know that if your elbow is here for like ever, and maybe loaded with maybe, I don't know, a 5-pound dumbbell or something right here, or 10-pound dumbbell right here, your elbow would bother you. It needs to be mid-range, and it's going to feel better after it hurts right here. And that's really where your back wants to be a little bit more. With all of these things that we're talking about right now, I have a feeling that most of us have a back that is too extended in our low back. And it ends up creating an environment where not just the joints in your back are maybe flared up a little bit, or maybe you describe it as maybe tightness in your back, or maybe a pulling in your back. Maybe you would describe it that way somehow. Yeah, so the best, and it's almost like teaching somebody to throw with their left hand when they're right-handed, because you don't see your lumbar spine vertebra, right? You don't see the position they're in. All you do, you just feel the discomfort there. And sometimes when it's discomfort in that area, it just sets it off to be more easily irritable down the road, whether it's in the back of your hip, the side of your hip, the outside of your thigh, your hamstring. Sometimes it just sets up the environment when your joints are already not feeling that great, and that's when you feel maybe some tightness in your low back. You really shouldn't feel your back at all, ever. No more than you feel your nose, unless it hurts or you're touching it, right? You shouldn't feel your back unless you're touching it or it's painful, or sore, or however you want to describe it. So the best thing I do to teach people how to take care of their low back pain, one of the major things, they need to have the control. I'm trying to figure out where I can do this the best. It might just be right here. Yeah, we'll just do it right here. Anyway, so, let's see, right there. So you pick a wall, right? We're going right down the side of that wall, right there. So without this thing right here, consider nothing being here. Okay, but what you need to do is maybe have your heels maybe 4 or 5 inches away from the wall. You should be able to flatten out your back so there's no daylight between your low back and the wall. You should be able to do this. I'll get on my tippy toes. You should be able to do this and have a little bit more kind of a control right there. I mean, we're normally here a little bit too excessively, but then when you kind of tuck your bum underneath you, you should have that control where there's not any daylight between your foot, sorry, thinking about the foot, your back and the wall. You shouldn't have any daylight there. You should be able to control. Try that out. Let me know how it goes. I'll be interested if you guys could do that. Normally when you flatten out your back, you can put your hand between your low back and the wall. And if you can work your hand between your back and the wall, you don't have the lumbo-pelvic control that you probably need to really take care of this whole thing. That ends up being a big issue. Most of the time, we end up having this slightly more swayed back when we're walking, a little bit too extended, and makes it easier for our low back it's actually easier. It doesn't require a whole lot of effort to be there. So anyway, I hope that helps. A little bit of review of last month when we were talking about the IT band, and we talked about hamstring and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make sure we kind of get a well-rounded kind of a view of what could be going on. And so with that, now we're kind of done. I'm wondering if anybody has any questions about anything, because I'll be here. If you guys got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And some people are going to probably want to know about my book. Well, it's still being edited, but if you guys would like to have the first chapter, I'll be happy to send it to you. Just comment, book, and I'll be happy to send you the first chapter. The first chapter goes over the back of the foot and ankle. So we cover the Achilles tendon, we cover the heel, we cover Achilles bursitis, and we cover the sural nerve that acts a lot like Achilles tendonitis. So we didn't go into that today, but that's what the first chapter talks about. And it's the book is tips, running pain-free, the guide to master self-assessment and self-treatment for injuries. So that's my desire, is to just kind of shotgun it out there and let people know about how to take care of themselves in a format that I think will be helpful. So, and in a way to kind of find the problems, quickly. The book is designed to be. Oh yeah, you got it. Glad to be helpful, Lisa. And at this point, I enjoy. You guys already know that I enjoy just talking to the running community and people that have these similar issues. I'm wondering. I feel like now is a good point to kind of give you guys maybe like to offer you guys something. I'm gonna send you guys the book. Chapter, probably one chapter each week, because my wife is really helping me out edit it, and it's really neat to have a perspective from someone that doesn't understand anatomy from a perspective that I do. So it's really good to have her her perspective, and here she is.
Hi guys.
There she is. It's my wife Jackie. Love you. She's really helpful, trying to help me get the nuancy stuff like out of it, that maybe help provide a little more clarity in the language that I think in my mind most of the time when I'm trying to help out people. So anyway, that's going to come out. And if you guys comment book, I'll just send you probably a chapter a week until all 10 chapters are done. The first 3 are pretty well done, but I just want to... Cool. Yep, you got it, Christina. I'll send you. We'll go chapter by chapter. Yeah, because it's still, my wife's really helping me out. Hey, yeah, Trudy said hi, Jackie. Trudy, I don't know if you've ever met her, but I think you might have. Real fantastic gal. Anyway, so yep. So I want to just give you guys that, but I want to offer you guys some other stuff too, if you guys are interested. Yeah, you got it, Trudy. So yeah, and so this ebook I'm pretty excited about, because with it there's going to be some coursework, some self-assessment, self-treatment strategies. Yeah, you're right, Lisa. Thank you so much. She's editing. She's edited. She's been an editor actually for since she started working with this one lady about 5 years ago, Jackie?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, about 5 years ago. So she's helped me out a lot. Yeah, but now I got to give you guys an offer. I'll just send that to you guys, just because you guys are here and you know about me, and I'm happy to offer that to you. But what I'd like to do is offer you my time more exclusively, because this COVID time is kind of tough for probably all of us. Sometimes the easiest way to do this thing is maybe not in an office. But anyway, so I would like to set up some Zoom meetings and to answer all you guys' questions regarding the hip stuff, the stuff that we just went over, but like in a whole lot more detail. Because there's more detail to the hip, the hammy, the low back, and all the pain points and the nuancy stuff that might help you self-assess and self-treat a little bit better. I'd like to offer you that Zoom meeting. And what we're going to do with the book is, well, let me back up. So what I also like to do is, because I can do this. All we got to do is have some pictures of you guys, video content. Yeah, you can. Yep. And I can actually teach you how to do that. But yeah, Lisa, your question, can you tell if a bursa is bothering you or something else, like a piriformis issue of the hip? Yeah. Great question, by the way, Lisa. So if you've ever seen a bursitis, you should look up bursitis. This is like pretty eye-opening. I've treated 2 real bursitises. I've been a PT for almost 20 years now. 2 real bursitises. And if you look up elbow bursitis, or if you look up knee bursitis, hip bursitis, because they're very close to the air, right? They're very close. You can see them. Or supposedly the bursa or the bursitis is. And on the knee and the elbow, if you look up bursitis of the knee or bursitis of the elbow, holy cow, it'll be like it's like a grapefruit at the end of your elbow or your knee. It is massive. It's not always massive, but when you have like a real bursitis going, I mean, it's like it's a ball at the end of your elbow or your knee. And so unless you have that at your hip, it's, in my opinion, the physicians would not agree with me. But clinically, I see that if I treat a hip bursitis like I would a piriformis syndrome, most of the time, I'll just say it, like really all the time, unless it's the other 2 times, the symptoms subside. Yeah. The bursa, if you go ahead and look it up, Lisa, there's those when you have a true bursitis at like the end of like a joint, like your knee or your elbow or your hip, it's this big thing. It's not small. And it would feel super gushy compared to the other side if it was a true bursitis. Yeah, anyway, I hope that helps. But yeah, so what I'd like to do as well, I'd like to get into maybe some video analysis of your feet and just see how the structure of your foot is. Because a lot of the stuff, yeah, it's a good question, Lisa. Thanks for asking. Yeah, but yeah, so your foot posturing and the mobility of your foot ends up getting you into problems in your foot and ankle, lower leg, your knee, and sometimes your hip. Because there's a lack of strength and there's sometimes excessive mobility in the foot. And so what I'd like to do is get some static pictures of that from you guys. You get some video of your running and your walking gait, just to kind of get a feel for how you guys look and what might, if you guys don't have any pain points, if what might be down the road for you if you don't do something like this that I would mention to you, like some kind of strengthening, or maybe a appropriate shoe, or whatever the case may be. And if I get 10 of you, and this will be the first 10. Oh, my battery's going low. The first 10, what I'll do is I'll be happy to do like 2 one-on-one calls with you over the next month. Whatever it is, if it's a pain point that you guys want to deal with, or a pain point that you're dealing with, or you have a question about your training, or whatever you would have. I would love to do that for you guys. And only the first 10 though, I would love to do more, but I can't. I drive about an hour away for work Monday through Thursday, and it just ends up being kind of a haul. And then what I would like to do, and this is kind of a neat deal, is do like these Zoom meetings for like the top maybe 7 pain points that I've seen be issue for people, and then the other 3. So we'll do 10 altogether, and just simply go through the amount of, oh, thanks, honey. She gave me the cord. Go through, what happened? There we go, that's better. We'll go through 10 of them. So 7 that I know are pretty solid pain points that I deal with all the time with people in the clinic. And then the other 3, what we'll do is we'll just take a poll of the 10 people that chime in, and we'll do like a Zoom seminar over those particular pain points. Like say it's like, you know, plantar fasciitis is a big one. I think Facebook group has like 20,000 people in it. It's a big deal. So I love to do a Zoom session regarding stuff like that. And the top 7 of the foot and ankle lower leg, and then other 3 that everybody agrees would like to do, or variations of that. I'm open. Yeah, so all that stuff. So I would like to, the ebook's going out to you guys. Whoever mentions book, I'll give it to you. But the Zoom meeting and the video analysis and the one-on-one stuff for the next month for 2 would be I gotta offer this in a way that is going to make it so that I don't do it for free, because my time and your time is valuable. So what I would like to do, because the ebook thing, the 10 is going to be 10 weeks. It's going to be so the top 10 foot and ankle lower leg issues will be over 10 weeks. So the next near 2.5 months, we'll be going over that Zoom stuff. So I would love to do that for you guys. All that stuff, I would love to do that. And obviously you're going to see me on anyways. But regarding all that stuff, I would like to offer it to you for $445. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I figure, it's time to probably end up, as I keep going with this, to maybe not do it for free all the time anymore, but not always. Of course, I'm going to be doing stuff for free for you guys. I love doing that. You're going to get the book for free, but our time, both of our times, is valuable. So I just want to make sure that I offer that to you. If anybody's interested in that, let me know or instant message me, and I'll be happy to assist you guys and really kind of dive into your training, the pain points a little bit more one-on-one, and just offer you guys some good value. So if you guys are interested, let's see, what would be the key word for that one? We'll just say, let's see, coach. We'll just put in coach. It's essentially what I'll end up being, coach. So, if you guys want that, type in coach. Think about it. If you don't know if and I understand that, this is where we enter into something that's, a little nuancing, like how can I trust him? If you want, I'll put my Venmo link there, and just send me $1. If you send me $1, then we'll talk on the phone, and I'll be happy just to chat with you about this and see if it works for you. If not, I understand, it's okay. I'm trying to figure out what the needs are of everybody out there, and create something for you guys that's going to be, just way over the top valuable in the long run for you. If you think that'll be something that you guys are interested in, comment coach, and if you're interested in the book, I'll just send you the book. That'll be fun, and that'll be really helpful too. So anyway, comment book if you want the book. I'll just send you the chapter, and comment coach if you want to work with me more and more one-on-one, and that'll be great. I'll put all that stuff in there. I think I'll put a comment section in there and just tell you everything that I'll be happy to do is more one-on-one for you guys. Anyways, I hope tonight helped, or this afternoon helped. I was pretty excited about it because I know that it offers some good value. And I'll be doing more of them. I enjoy it because I know you guys are driven. I know you guys really want to get better. I know you guys sometimes get into the clinic and or you get into you search online to find out what's wrong and sometimes it works and sometimes it just doesn't work and you get frustrated. And then with the way things are, it's tough to figure out who to go to. So I want to be that guy for you. David, Captain David, good to see you, man. Thanks, bro. And Lisa, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm glad to be helpful, Lisa. I appreciate you saying that. Sometimes I don't get that feedback from people, but I know my peeps. I know what you guys need, but sometimes it just feels like, you know, you get crickets online because you're not right in front of someone and you can't read body language and you can't understand exactly what's going on with people. So anyway, I hope to target what's going on with you guys well, and I'll keep doing that with these lives here. So take care. God bless you guys. You got it, Christina. Thanks for saying that. Really, thanks for saying that. Yeah, so take care. And I'll if you guys want to instant message me about anything else you want me to do a live about, I'll be happy to do that. I love you runners. You guys are so motivated. Sometimes when people come in and have a copay of like, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks, it's like, you know, the value is just not perceived well. And so yeah, I end up, you know, banging my head against the wall sometimes because the perception of the value just really isn't that great, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I know you guys enjoy it. So that makes it a happy time for me. I enjoy this stuff. So if you guys want me to talk about anything, instant message me or comment here, or any other time I'm doing a live or any other time I post on anything, please, by all means, let me know. And I'll be happy to talk with you about it. And take care. God bless you guys. And be safe. And yeah, we'll see you soon.